It's not good to do everything for your kids, and especially, you got to be teaching them stuff. That the goal of childhood isn't just to give your children a good childhood and happy and fun and learning filled and so forth, and just, to make them happy in childhood. It's also to prepare them for adulthood so well that you have rendered yourself obsolete.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Patagonia, Bremerhaven, Kalispell, Montana, and Louisiana. What do all those have in common? That's where we have people tuning into our show right this very minute. Not to mention Nebraska, South Dakota, and the Carolinas. Not to mention so many other places that I haven't even mentioned. Checking in, this is the Badass Counseling Show. And I am your host, Sven Erlandson. And we have folks already checked in from around the world, even right up there in North Dakota, my home state where I was born, though I grew up in Minnesota. I've got, some wonderful people and so many of our lovely followers checking in, and so many brand new people to the Badass Counseling Show. We have a following of about 3 million people online, and we've had millions and millions of downloads of our show, and we've done hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and we're just here to try to help folks. This is the Badass Counseling Show. It is run fundamentally by Casey, who is over in the booth. She is the brains of the operation. However, the engine is this man sitting next to me, who is Rob the Rocket. He doesn't see a lot of screen time unless you watch us over on YouTube. Then you can see more of the operation. And if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you want to go over there just for a minute, you can see the precarious setup of my stand, because I don't ask. So we've got... It's a mess. Anyway, but we are operational until it all falls down. Hopefully it won't. And but Rob is the one that makes it all happen. I'm just the guy. I'm the paint on the car. He's the guy that actually is the engine of the car. And so Rob, Mr. Engine, who has Carly, the studio cat, sitting next to him. Yeah, there she is. Rob, what do you know?
I'm well oiled. Thank you.
Okay. And we're going to get going here. So we've got questions. We got lots of folks sending in questions here. And the first one, right out of the gate. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. This is asked by Pharrell on TikTok. Weird question. Weird as in I have literally never gotten this question before on the show. I've handled some of these in real life with clients and actually with a couple of friends. So here we go. Pharrell asked the question, would love your thoughts on family compounds. Okay, first thing, as long as there aren't fences and gates to keep them trapped inside, hey, God bless you. Why not? My girlfriend actually wants to live on a commune. And I'm like, well, enjoy yourself. I can't wait to meet your new boyfriend because I'm not living on a fucking... It's just like I need time away from people. Anyway, but I'm for it. Some people, that's how it was. That was old school shit. I come from farmer stock, all right? My people came over from Sweden, and they were farmers. They moved to this north country of northern Minnesota and southern Minnesota, and, they'd come from Skåne and Småland in Sweden, and they were farmers, and some blacksmiths, but mostly farmers and pastors. And they all lived either in the same fucking house, 3 generations in the same house, or on the same property, or they were on the next property over, and they've all farmed the land together. So it's old school, and there's beauty in it as long as everyone's a willing participant. I think it could be a beautiful thing, but there still has to be open lines of communication. There still has to be people not being controlled, or where power or money is not being wielded over them. But every family sets up their structure differently as long as everyone is a willing participant as an adult. But if it doesn't work for a person, they have every right to leave as well. As long as it's not coercive, I am all for it. Those are my thoughts. And I got to admit it, I was winging it on that one because I did not see that question coming. Oh, great question here. Love this one from Amy Dion. We're getting everything out of left and right field today. People are throwing the balls back on the field. I love this shit. Here we go. Amy Dion says, be honest. Hey, this is good. Be honest. Do therapists get frustrated with clients? And do you have favorites? Yes and yes. Do I get frustrated with clients? Yes. You got to, now I can't speak for all therapists. Can't even speak for anyone else, really. I mean, I do have some that I talk to, and some very, very dear friends, and I have one or two that I will refer clients to. And some of our listeners of our show, I've actually referred a client or two to, or someone that I couldn't afford me, or, whatever. Just, get a better fit, or someone that's like, oh, Lisa is going to be great for you. So we do talk some of us. Do I get frustrated with clients? Yes, but it's because, in all honesty, I love them so much. I fall in love with literally every single one of my clients. Male or female, from fucking 5-year-old to a 95-year-old. I fall in love with the spirit of every single one of my clients. I mean that very, very sincerely. I love them. I love the spirit of who they are. And my job is to unlock that and to reach down their fucking throat and start pulling out all the crud that is keeping them blocked. And then to reach down their fucking throat and pull out their greatness and pull out their authentic self. And the only thing that usually blocks them is their own fear. Their fear of facing all the demons, their fear of finally looking at the real truth of life, not just the truth they've had to live by to survive. And I get that fear because I've been in it myself. And so I have compassion for them. But is it frustrating? Yes, because it's like, oh, I can see how close they are. I can see how, it's like back when I was an NCAA strength coach. It's like you push the people you want to have the breakthroughs, you push them harder because you want them. And you ease up sometimes, but you just want them there. Weakest link is, it determines the strength of a fucking chain. My weakest links on teams, when I would inherit a team, when I was an NCAA strength coach, I would always work them the hardest. You want to know why? Because I used to love to humiliate the strongest players. My female athletes in my gyms were often the stronger than a lot of the male athletes. Why? Because I used to love to humiliate the males. Why? Make them work harder. And so I had animals. Some of my female athletes, some of my former weak links were absolute animals. So I get frustrated when people don't want to work. And when people who have a lot of talent don't want to work, give me the hard workers. I just want somebody who's willing to go deep. I'll fucking go with them. And then do you have favorites? Yeah, I do. The ones who want to work, who are more hungry. I fall in love with every one of them. And they're the ones who are so broken, and I want to cuddle them like my little bunny of a dog that we had to put down just last night. And there's some I just want to hold hold their spirit. And then there are other ones, and I love them for that. Other ones that I love because I can race them. It's like riding a racehorse, and they get it, and we can just go 100 miles an hour. I got a guy right now, the guy I was mentioning earlier. He's in one of our groups, and he's a fucking racehorse. Brian, he's just a fucking racehorse. And another one that I've got over there on Tiffany over on Facebook, fucking racehorse, man. These people take their fucking healing seriously, man. So yeah, I do. Maybe other therapists don't. They're not going to tell you the truth. Do I? Yeah. But I still bust my balls. You're paying me what you're going to pay me. I am here to bust my fucking balls for you. All right, next question. Steffi asked the question. Steffi's a regular listener of the show. Steffi from Nebraska asked the question, how do I know I'm doing okay as a mom? I have good kids. I just don't know if I'm doing enough for them. All right, that's a great question. One of the things my mom used to say into her late 70s, early 80s, she had said it for years and years, decades. I recall her talking about with me and I think one of my other brothers, but the guilt she felt. And I know she felt it with regard to parenting me, that my parents, because of dad's income and then mom's income, they just felt like they couldn't do more. And I was the youngest of 6, right? Well, I was perfectly happy. I got to go to an incredible public school in Minnesota, Fridley, and which at the time was fantastic, blue collar, and I had a great experience. But she felt a lot of guilt. And one of the things that mom said to me, though, in her 80s, she says, Sven, I wish I would have forgiven myself sooner. I robbed you kids of a happy mom, and I robbed myself of happiness, but I just felt so much guilt that I didn't do better. And so I've grown to believe that one of the earmarks of a good parent is guilt. How's that for fucked up? I really believe that. Now, if you keep carrying that guilt, now you are fucking up your kids. But here's the thing. In your question, Steffi, you say, how do I know if I'm doing okay as a mom? I would simply ask you this question, and I'd look you straight in the face, and I'd say, I want you to just breathe here and answer this question just honestly from your soul. I want you to take your fears. I want you to take your fears, and I want you to put them in this little bottle that I have here. We're going to take your fears, we're going to put it in there, and then we're going to just put the fears over on the shelf just for a minute. Just for a minute. Now, if we put the fears aside and you just breathe, do you feel like you're a good mom? And I'm willing to bet the answer is yes. beyond, I work really hard and I try and so forth, which is an honest answer. That's somebody who's, I try. If somebody's coming out and saying, yeah, I'm just a great mom. I'm great. That's probably the person who isn't. But the person who say, I strive and I struggle, but yeah, I feel like I'm a good mom and I really do best and I make mistakes and so forth and I try to be humble and accept my mistakes and heal from them. But that's a good parent. But I love what you said next. I have good kids. I just don't know if I'm doing enough for them. I'm going to challenge you on that, Steffi. A lot of parents nowadays are doing too much for their kids. I don't mean the coddling thing. That's not what I'm talking about. Because I believe in coddling and pushing your kids, both. It's being tough and gentle. It's both. It's not either or. It's just, that's fucking stupid. But we had very dear friends over at our house, and they were a young couple in their early 40s, and they were talking about their kids. And I remember the mom, and this was a good Italian family, right? Good Italian family with this dear friend of ours. And they were over, and the mom saying that she does for her 4 kids, a mix of girls and boys. She says, I read an article recently. This was a woman she was in her mid-40s. And she said, I read an article recently that said that it's not good to do everything for your kids. And she was stating it like it was a revelation. And my girlfriend and I, we just sort of, without a tell, we just sort of looked at each other like, oh shit. And we love her to death. And we said, it's not good to do everything for your kids. And especially, you got to be teaching them stuff. That the goal of childhood isn't just to give your children a good childhood and happy and fun and learning filled and so forth, and just, to make them happy in childhood. It's also to prepare them for adulthood so well that you have rendered yourself obsolete. Think about that. Are you teaching your children how to do the laundry? By the time I was in 7th grade, my mom was making me not just do my own laundry, scrub my own football pants. Blood, grass stains, dirt, fucking sweat. I had to get going out, and she took me down to the old scrubbing board, the old Indian, I think was the name of the brand. It's back when they could name shit like that. And scrubbing board, the steel metal, and I would have to scrub, soak them. She taught me how to soak them, and then pull it out, and then start scrubbing. You apply a little bit more of the soap, and then you get on there and scrub, and I would have to scrub my own. That's in 7th grade. And I was in a high grade for my age, so I was like 12. All right. And by then I was already cooking. I was already doing my own laundry, as were my siblings. This wasn't just me. This was my siblings too. My mom had arthritis. She couldn't do those things, so she forced us. I knew how to launder. I knew how to use a sewing machine. All right. We were gardening. Both of our parents gardened. Dad was an avid gardener and shit like that. Taught us how to change shingles. And it's just, what are you teaching your children? Are you teaching them and expecting them to do it and just trusting them? And if they fuck it up a bit, so they fuck it up a bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the point is they're learning. Are you preparing them for adulthood, or you say, I don't know if I'm doing enough for them? I would challenge you may be doing too much for them, Steffi. I'm just challenging. I don't know your situation, but are you doing too much? Because then you're hamstringing them for adulthood, because you want them to get to the adulthood and have not just skills as well. You want them to have as many skills as possible that they feel proficient, so that your sons, when they get out into their first apartment, it's like, I use a washing machine. Here we go. No, I'm going to put it on permanent press cycle. Oh, no. And they tell their buddies, what are you doing putting your reds in with your whites? Ding dong. Take those reds out of there. And let's do a colds, blah, blah, blah. No, it's a blood stain. You got to use cold water. Wouldn't that be cool to have a son who knows, you got a blood stain, you use cold water, not hot water, right? Shit like that. Who knows how to cook, or all those stuff. It's like teaching them. And one of the things, I used that after the divorce, I was trying to find something. My 2 kids and I, we bonded over sports a bit. I always felt like my daughter was just tagging along, and I was trying for years, what can I find that she and I can do together that's for us? And it dawned on me, Sven, you know how to cook. Now, was I a chef? No, but I knew more than a fucking 10-year-old. So I taught her how to cook. Now my daughter's a great cook, and she has she does all sorts of shit on Instagram, and she's, raising twins, and she's still baking like fucking souffles and making taffy. And you can check her out on Instagram, Sveamade, Sveamade, Sveamade on Instagram. She has cool creations of all the stuff she makes, and it's really neat. Anyway, point is, I challenge you on that. All right, let's move on to the next question.
That washboard, you could have joined a skiffle band.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, skiffle band, is that what they're called? Did not know that. I like that. All right, here we go. Joe Lozano asks over on Facebook, any advice you have on how to communicate with an overweight kid and not crush their feelings? Joe, what's implied in that, not crush their feelings? Why would communicating with an overweight child crush their feelings if you're talking about, boats? Or if you're talking about school, why would that crush their feelings? Implied in not crush their feelings is you're saying, how do I talk to an overweight kid about being overweight? Because why would anything else crush their feelings if you're just talking about, hey, what was that math test like today? That wouldn't crush their feelings. Okay. I don't claim, I am not an expert in eating disorders or eating problems or being overweight or anything like that. I don't know the situation with your child. I'm not an expert in overeating, anything like that. Not an expert. Do I have a lot of clients who come to me for that? Yes. And do I make it clear that I'm not an expert in it? Yes. Choose to work with me anyway. In this case, I'm telling you up front, take whatever I say and throw it in the fucking trash can if it doesn't resonate, Joe. A lot of times, people will use food as a mechanism for running from what's inside. Now, for some people, it's eating too much. Some people, it's not eating at all. For some people, it's binging and purging. And why? Because food is perhaps the easiest, most universal method for doing that. But kid can't get a hand on a bottle. Maybe they can, or, weed. Maybe that's gaming. Everybody has their escapes if they're running. And it could be with this overweight kid, could be, I'm not saying it is, that what is causing them being overweight could be, okay, is that they're running from pain inside, from a belief system that someone has taught them, conditioned them to believe about themselves that they don't have worth, they are not lovable, who they are isn't good enough. And the truth is, a lot of kids get that message, even ones who aren't overweight, especially ones, plenty of them, okay? And so the point is, a lot of kids have it in them. And so this is an issue, not just with an overweight kid. And so that means what we really got to begin to pull apart is what's driving the equation of the overweightness down at the soul level. What are the messages that this child believes about themselves at the soul level? Furthermore, where have they been getting the conditioning messages that whether it's I'm not wantable, who you're not good enough, you're not lovable the way you are, you don't matter, you don't care, you're not important. What I would encourage, and you don't say if you are the parent or a family friend or what it is, but what I would encourage the parents to do in this case is read the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, because if that is in fact the case with the child, it is being driven by all likelihood by the parents. They are the primary influences in a child's life, assuming the parents are raising the child. That means it's coming from the parents. That means the parents need to heal themselves because it's their unhealed shit that is being passed down to the child. And so the parents need to heal themselves. And then you ask, how do you communicate with the child? It sounds like you're wanting to communicate about their weight. I would, in all honesty, in this particular case, I would honestly consult experts on this because that's a tricky little devil right there. And I don't mean the child. I mean that conversation. But what I'm attacking it from is the soul level. There is likely stuff going on inside that child at the soul level that food is an escape for. And the only way you're going to do that on your own is by solving the equation inside yourself first. Rob, go ahead. You've got a question over there inside, over on YouTube. Go ahead.
Yes, man. Anna Marie says, infidelity was exposed in September. I found out in May he continued a relationship with the AP. I can't stop thinking of all the effort he put into her and the relationship, and more importantly, the lies he's told.
No question is stated, right?
Yeah.
And so this person whose name is what?
Anna Marie says she can't stop thinking about it.
Can't stop thinking about it. Yeah, Anna Marie, and this is part of it. When you've been cheated on, which is clearly the case here, as you state, when you've been cheated on, I've been through it twice in major adult relationships, and it's just so fucking painful. It's heart-wrenching. It's humiliating. It causes self-doubt. Doubt in the other causes distrust. It causes so much stuff. So much. And the simple fact of the matter is, Anna Marie, you have to begin the process. It's already in you. You're already feeling all the pain. All right. So I don't have to tell you to go into the pain because you're in it. And so what you're basically saying is, how do I get out of it? You don't get out of it. You get it out of you. I like that. Rob, will you help me remember that later or write it down?
I wrote it down.
Okay. You don't get out of it. You get it out of you. That means you have to be very deliberate now. And I talk about this in my book, Cheating Sucks. Get the book. Trust me. Get the book. Cheating Sucks. Became a bestseller just this week. All right. That fundamentally, you've got to begin the process, writing them letters you don't send. You got to start journaling. You've got to start going even further into that pain, but bringing it up and flushing it out, up and out. And the more you do that, and not just the pain and the fears and the anxiety and the rage and the sadness and the betrayal, but the love and the longing, all of that needs to begin to come out, because what's keeping you attached to that person is the love. That's what's keeping you holding on. And I'm not saying you have to let go, but I'm saying that's what's heightening the pain. So as you begin to express that love in those letters, I miss you so much, and God, I miss you next to me, and you have the nicest ass, or whatever is in you. Write it, flush it, keep flushing out. Then you'll begin to settle down inside. And then you'll be able to act and think from a place of clarity. But you're so swollen, so pregnant from feelings right now that it's driving you nuts. And I have lived it. I have been there. I have cried my eyes out in the fetal position on the living room of my apartment in Berkeley, California, when the tears were finally done, but the pain that the tears were supposed to get rid of, the pain was still there. I know what I'm talking about on that one. I've lived that shit. And you're in hell right now, and you got to get that shit out of you. You have to be deliberate. But people don't want to take deliberate action when they're in pain. But that's when you most have to. It's just like when I'm 30 pounds over the weight, I don't want to go to the fucking gym. Well, that's when you gotta. I mean, you should have at 5 or 10 and not stopped. But I did. Well, now I gotta. And somebody asked a question, and I don't have it right in front of me now, but I'm going to take the question. I believe it was a Thomas on TikTok said, and this is the next question: how do I get in a regular habit of going back to the gym? What's wrong with me? Why aren't I going? And the bottom line is, and I used to do talks back when I was an NCAA coach, I used to do talks on this. I'd talk to police departments and shit like that. And I'd say, do you guys want the real truth? Or do you want me to sugarcoat it? And they'd be like, well, you know what answer you're going to get there. We want the real truth. Do you want me to swear or make it nice for you? Swear! Okay, great. And I'd say, I'm here, you bring me in to tell you to get on some fucking plan, all this. Don't try to get on a plan. Don't try to do anything. What you need to do is you need to wait until you're so sick of looking at yourself in the mirror. You need to wait until you're trying to run down criminals and they outrun you and they laugh at you when they run away. You got to wait until your spouse doesn't want to have sex with you because they can't bear to look at you. Wait until the humiliation or the pain or that number on the scale or your clothes don't fit, until it's so bad, because change does not occur until your pain gets bad enough. And that's the point here, that you're not going to begin to do the healing work on yourself until the pain is bad enough, because you're going to be so swollen that it's going to hurt so much on the inside that you realize you're going to need to relieve the pressure. But I'm telling you, do it now before it gets that bad, because your decision making is only going to get more corrupted and going to get worse the less you take action to get that stuff out of you. And get the book, Cheating Sucks. And we'll be right back after this short break.
If you've cheated or been cheated on, you feel like there's no way back. I was there and I was terrified. Then I read Cheating Sucks. Even though it's designed to help betrayed partners heal, it forced me, the one who cheated, to face my own brokenness and take responsibility. It didn't just help me heal. It showed me how to talk to my husband with total honesty and compassion, paving a way to rebuild trust we thought was gone forever. Stop running from the shame. Read and start healing today at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform, and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with the Badass Counseling Show. I've got a question here from Tommy Thompson over on Facebook. It's actually Thomas Thompson, but there was a governor of, I want to say, Wisconsin at one point whose name was Tommy Thompson, I think. Anyway, Thomas Thompson, and that's my riff for today, asked the question, what are your thoughts? Oh, isn't this interesting? You guys are going to enjoy this. What are your thoughts on changing my name? Well, no lie. Thomas Thompson asked a question. What are your thoughts on changing my name? I'm a junior, and I feel a great burden upon me after being named after my asshole father. I have worked all of it out, journaling, therapy, etc. The name just feels like it's weighing me down and the last thing keeping me held underwater. What I find most interesting about that, Mr. Thompson, is that you're asking my opinion on it. And yet you say, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. I'm happy to chime in on this. But you say, I've worked all of it out. I've journaled, therapy, etc. Except you obviously haven't because you still don't trust your own voice. So there's still residue of self-doubt that there's somebody's voice inside of you saying, no, you shouldn't do what you're inclined to do. I'm not going to say you want to do it. You're inclined there. You're thinking about it. But there is still something inside of you that says, no, don't do it. Or you shouldn't, is what I'm hearing. And what I want to know from you, you don't necessarily have to write it, but what I want you to find out for yourself, ask yourself is, Mr. Journaler, and I believe you, so I'm going to sort of kick your ass a little bit here. What I want you to answer for yourself is, what's the voice inside of you? Is it that you're bad by doing this? You're disrespectful to your parents, to your family, your extended family by getting rid of the junior? What's the should? You're saying, I shouldn't. I got to believe there's something in there that says, I shouldn't do this. I don't know if I should do this. So and I have a basic formula that I run with my life, and that is, if there's a should in the decision making somewhere, oh, I should do this or I shouldn't do that. Basically, if there's ever a should in it, you shouldn't. So if there's a shouldn't in it, you need to. It's what you want. To me, it's your soul saying, I want to do this. I don't like this burden. I don't want this fucking name. The guy's a fucking asshole, my father. I don't want to be his fucking junior. Fuck this shit. And you know what you want to do, but something is holding you back inside of you. But it's not you. It's some other voice. And you got to identify that voice and say, do I want that person's voice inside of me? And in a way, it sounds like it could be you finally saying goodbye to your father. Even if you're not doing it in real life, it's like, I don't want to be associated with you. And it's like, this is a major decision, Tommy Thompson. This is a major decision. And I applaud you for pausing. It's a big step, changing your name. But if it's what feels right, ultimately, that's the test in life. Life is always challenging us. I had one just today, a challenge that I have to make a decision on by morning, a new challenge. All sorts. Actually, I have 2 different ones that I have to make by tomorrow. But point is, always new levels of, are you willing to trust what feels right for you? And we love those movies. I was thinking about Field of Dreams. I was thinking about these 2 decisions I got to make for tomorrow. I was thinking about the movie Field of Dreams. His brother, played by, the guy that was Elliot, on whatever show, on 30-something, a million years ago. Anyway, his brother-in-law is saying, no, you got to sell, Ray. You got to sell the farm. You're underwater, Ray. And then he finally goes, no, I'm not selling. It made no sense. So all the pressure was on him, but he went with what felt right to him. And we love that movie for it. We love him for it. We're inspired by people who have the courage to trust themselves. And that's what you're being challenged here to do, Tommy Thompson. Do you have the courage to trust yourself? Finally, because you've been taught your whole life that you're probably no good, that you shouldn't trust yourself, that you're not lovable the way you are. Well, do you trust you? Do you love you? All right. So what do you want to do? And then fucking act on it. And just for the record, you can always change your name back. All right, next question. Here we go.
Use your middle name, maybe.
Use your middle name. Or just get rid of the junior, like you said. All right. And Robin on TikTok says, my name is Robin Thomas, and I want to change my last name. Small world. Wow. Come on, folks. Come on. What are the odds? I got Tommy Thompson changing his name. I got Robin Thomas and Tommy Thompson changing their fucking names.
Reminds me of that bit on SNL where this guy, Aswipe, was talking about changing his name because everybody called him Asswipe.
Oh, yeah. All right. Here's the next one. It's not stated as a question. It's a comment, but it warrants a response. Kerblong on TikTok says, this man has an endless supply of advice. May his days be smooth and flawless. Very gracious, and a flex sign after it. But when I first read it in my head before I read it out loud, I thought it said, I'll bet his days are smooth and flawless, like with sarcasm. And what I wanted to say is, and the reason I wanted to get this as an actual response is they're not. Doing all of this healing work And doing all of this work to get out fundamentally the core messages you were taught to believe about yourself does not make you impervious to life's pains, pitfalls, hardships, and fuck ups and fall downs. It doesn't make you impervious. It simply means that the inevitable hardships of life, you now have tools for healing, and healing quickly. That's the difference. And furthermore, if you've gotten out all the pain and the fears and the bullshit messages you were taught to believe about yourself, if you've gotten them out, then plunking in a new one, it's like, that's no big deal. But if you still have all those in you and then you plunk in a new one, it triggers all of those and you've got sticks of dynamite going off inside of you. That's the difference between a healed person and an unhealed person. That an unhealed person, they get some new trauma and it's triggering all their old traumas. It's triggering all those old emotionally charged memories, or at least the ones that are still in there. But you do the healing and you're detaching the emotional charge from the memory. Now all of a sudden it's just a memory. Oh, I drove to Five Guys and I had a hamburger. No big deal. I got hit by a car and, broke my arm and I was full of rage for 4 weeks. But then I did my emotional healing. Now it's just, I got hit by a car and I broke my leg. But it's not the end of the world because I flushed out all the emotion attached to it. Now it's just a memory. Okay. All right. Next question. And Rob's got one over there on YouTube. Go ahead, Rob.
Now, this is interesting. Luna Asterstone says, I want to go deep, but found that most therapists are not anything like you, Sven. I had a good one, but lost her due to insurance coding error. How are you supposed to heal when the medical system is flawed? I have your book and the workbook. I've read it 6 times, but when you're financially strapped and limited on funds, even getting help for yourself is costly. And she also says later, I changed my name. It was the best feeling. I felt detachment from the family and it was bliss.
Okay, Tommy Thompson, if this isn't some fucking sign from the voodoo fucking kumbaya gods, I don't know what it is. We got all sorts of name-changing shapeshifters on the show tonight, and I love it. So you're getting a lot of positive confirmation that it's working for some folks, and some other folks are with you on that. And so the fundamental question here is...
Wants to go deep.
Lost my therapist. How could I do it? System is flawed. What the fuck? And you've got the book. You've read it 6 times. My real question, though, to you, and what's the name again?
Luna Asterstone.
New name from the old name. I like this one. This one has flair. Luna, the real question is, first of all, have you done all the journaling exercises and done them in writing? In writing. Not up in your head. In writing. Secondly, if you haven't done them in writing, now that's the difference between reading the book and the real breakthroughs, because that's where the insights of the book interface with your actual life. That's where you're forced to bring that shit up, okay, and begin to put it out, because now you're putting it onto paper. Now you're not just thinking it, you're putting it onto paper. Then the third thing is, if you have done those journaling exercises and redone them, then what that tells me is there is something deeper down there that you're not wanting to touch, that you are afraid to go into. Possibly multiple things. And you're like, yeah, no shit, Sven. That's what I'm saying. I want to go deeper, but I can't. And what I'm saying is you can. Okay, you can. And what it takes is, remember, I had to get myself out of a 12-year suicidal depression. I didn't have these books. I just had whatever books I could find, and I pieced it together, and I began to create my own way out. But fundamentally, what it takes is not, yes, help would be nice, okay? But what it takes is not something to walk me out of there. It takes the commitment to getting out of the woods. And you can do that on your own with your journaling and with the tools by challenging yourself. What might I be missing here? Start in your journaling tonight, Luna, or tomorrow. I want you to start with the question, what am I avoiding in all of my inner work? What am I not wanting to touch? What is it that I don't want to make real by journaling about it? Start with those questions and just tinker. Don't come up with just one answer. I want you to tinker with those questions. Journal out some ideas. All right? Come back to it later. Journal out some more ideas. Well, probably not that. I'm not feeling it, and resonate and play with it. But what you're trying to do is dig down on your own to find what it might be. Remember, folks, healing is also play. You've got to treat it as a creative endeavor. You're trying to find what the solution might be. You've got to come in with it like a little girl plays with a bug on her hand, lets it crawl and watches it before she cooks it with a magnifying glass in the sun. Okay? But you're play, and let your brain, because you're trying to dig deeper. What might it be? Maybe not that, maybe. Well, let's entertain that idea and push yourself to go deeper. One more solution, Luna, right into the producers of the show. If you would like to be counsel with me on the show, and we change people's names for those who want that. But I counsel people on the show on our counseling episodes. You can write into production@badasscounseling.com. Again, it is production@badasscounseling.com. Stacy's Hair Studio writes on Instagram, my hands hurt and I don't like to write. Plus, you won't be able to read it later. The point isn't reading it later. I have people who say, I don't want to write. I hate writing. I say, I don't care. Do it anyway. I say, can you write a letter? Nobody's going to read it. The point is to get it on paper and get it out of you. Write letters that you don't send. Anybody can write a letter. And if you run a hair studio, don't you work with your hands? So I'll bet you have pretty strong hands, and I'll bet you don't want to fucking work with your hands. But then you say typing. Great. I type a lot of my journaling. Type. You don't have to save your journals, folks. You can burn them. Sometimes when I'm at the gym and I journal, I just flush it down the toilet. Tear it up, flush it down the toilet. You don't have to keep them. Some people like to keep them. It's up to you. Put an encrypted file in your computer. Type. Some people do voice journaling. I am not a fan of voice journaling. I'll be very honest with you, unless with one caveat, where they'll talk into their phone and that's their journal. No, because that's not real journaling unless you go back later and then you are editing it and adding more and editing and changing and so on and so forth. Why? Because the difference between having to write and type is that you are forced to stay in a thought and stay in a feeling longer. But if I say, John's a cocksucker, I fucking hate John, John can go to hell, and when's he going to give me that $20? John, I miss you, though. I got to be honest with you. But John, you're such a dick. Okay, then it's out of me. But it's not. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to go down deep and stay in it and think about it. If I can't see it in front of me, it's harder to tune in. The reason I'm able to really drill down on a lot of these questions is because I can see it in front of me. And I can think about it and I can stay in it. But if you're just talking and thinking that's doing it, that's having like a 4% impact. Now, if you're doing that with a therapist or a trained professional or a clergy person who is then looking at that and parroting back questions that they're pushing you with, now we've got something different. But just saying it into your phone without going back then and editing later and spending some time in that very file you just created, sorry, that's jack off time. But if you're going to go back in and edit it and spend some time in that file, then I'm for it. Okay, good, because it's basically still journaling. You're going back in and writing. All right, next question. This is a good one. See this one now and then. This is from JF88 Cook. I have Love Cup, which is the book you've heard me talk about it. Some of you have. A lot of you new folks haven't. It's one of my best-selling books. There's a hole in my Love Cup. And other resources for working through a Christian childhood with issues. And they put a question mark on the end. Not sure what the question is, but I'm going to take it for a spin here, JF. In good spirit, JF88 Cook. I have Love Cup, other resources for working through a Christian childhood with issues. Yeah, you're off to a good start. I had a Christian childhood with issues. Not enough attention. And so I've become an attention whore since then. I'm vain. Pride, big, that's one of my deadly sins, all right? What those are going to challenge you to do is go into the very things and deconstruct the very belief systems, but not necessarily the belief systems of the religion per se. Those are going to be inflection points, but it's in your own belief system about yourself. And what you want to do, you say you have my book, but also other resources for doing this. What I'm going to encourage you to do is just follow the trail of breadcrumbs wherever it leads. Now, naturally, I'm going to say, well, mine's the best fucking book, and you should only read my book first, and then you can see about the other ones. But the way I healed myself is just following the trail of breadcrumbs. This book is speaking to me today. I'm going to focus in on this. Then I'm going to go over here, and is this one speaking to me? Yeah, I kind of like this chapter. If a chapter's not speaking to you, move on. And then pull out this other book or this pamphlet, this article you caught in such and such magazine or whatever. Just follow the trail of breadcrumbs, but you're following your own natural spirit down into yourself and continue to flush out. Okay, next. Lauren asked the question. Lauren says, started responding to mom's texts after no contact to speak my truth. Is this healthy to continue? Well, you said you started responding to mom's text. The obvious question is, you said after there was no contact, and I did it to speak my truth. The real question is, how's it being received and responded to? You ask if it's healthy. The mere fact that you wanted to go back to your mom says that your no contact was not a permanent thing. You were wanting to fire a warning shot across the bow. You're basically wanting to say, hey, fuck off, man. I'm mad at you. Which tells me, Lauren, and this may not be your case, Lauren, but I've done so many of these that there are patterns. And one of the patterns is where the adult child doesn't fully cut off the parent, but they pull back from the parent, even if it's a hard pulling back. And they're doing it because deep, deep, deep down, what they are really wanting still is confirmation of worth. They are wanting in the form of affection, attention, acceptance, approval, acknowledgement, or apology. All the A's. One of those or a couple of those. You're still likely wanting your mother to confirm the very worth that she took away from you as a child. And you're still hoping that if I put my truth out there, that she will then change her ways and approve of me and say, you are my daughter and whom I am well pleased. And you could say, no, it's not that at all. I just wanted to give her my truth. If you just wanted to give her your truth and walk away, that's a different agenda from, I want a relationship with them, which you say, is this healthy to continue? You clearly want to continue. You wouldn't even ask that question. If it was just your desire to speak your truth, listen, you old hag, I'm sick of you. You were mean to me. You've never stopped, whatever. If that were your message, you would have never asked me about healthy to continue. The mere fact that you're asking, is it healthy to continue, says you are interested in continuing. So that tells me you're still wanting something from your mother. You're not just wanting a connection, you're wanting something from that connection. And those of you who listen to my counseling episodes know that I have a clever little exercise that I call, and then what? And then what? So if you got that connection, that healthy connection with your mom, then what would change outside of you or change inside of you? And I keep asking that question with each of your answers, eventually we get down to, well, then I'd have some sense of peace. Then I'd be happy. Then I could live my life my way. I wouldn't be going through life with a begging bowl trying to get love from people. So in other words, you believe that the reason you are trapped in this life that you don't want is because the only person that has the golden key to get you out of that jail cell is your mother. And it's just not true. You can get your own self out. So if you want to go back because you actually enjoy the person, go back to a relationship with your mom. But if you're going back because you want something from her, don't be disappointed if she doesn't give it to you, because she's probably not going to give it to you. And you already know that. But you spoke your truth. Now, how is she responding? Is she changing? And if not, there's your answer. But the bottom line is you need to heal yourself so that you don't go looking to someone else to heal you, or some bottle or some new lover or some gambling addiction or whatever it is. Next question. Katie Mason asked the question. Katie. Okay. Katie Mason asked the question. Oh, that's been a while. Katie says, Sven, I did multiple sessions with you 2 years ago. I remember, Katie. I actually do. And I remember the actual room you were sitting in, despite hundreds of therapists since. Stuff sticks. All right, Sven, I did multiple sessions with you 2 years ago and you changed my life. Oh, thanks. But you did the work. So fuck off. You did the work. I have made amazing progress and have been keeping up with the journaling. It is now a habitual way of life for me. That makes me happy. However, the past few months, I haven't felt the same release and progress. So the question is, what first steps do I take, or questions should I be asking myself if I feel like I've hit a plateau and not in a good way? Apologies for sending multiple times to try to get it read. Okay, you've hit a plateau. I guess that implies that I should always be progressing. And I used to get this from my athletes. Coach, I've hit a plateau. I'm not getting stronger. I'm not getting faster. Now with athletes, when it comes to getting stronger, it always boils down to four things. First of all, are you doing the workouts? Then the third thing, the other three things are water, protein, and rest. And very often when you're dealing with high caliber athletes, it's always the rest. They're overtraining. So let's take that as a template and overlay it onto you, Katie, in your life. Is it possible that you're just wanting new results all the time? In other words, what I'm getting at is, first of all, is it possible that you're healed, Katie? There's nothing in there that needs to be cleaned. Nothing big. See, that's the thing. In the beginning, Katie, when you and I were doing some heavy lifting of that, those rocks out of the love cup of your soul, out of that 500-pound, I'm going to mix my metaphors, those 500 pounds of rocks and that burlap sack on your back, You take off a 50 pounder and it's like, feels pretty good, but it's that second 50 pounder and now I got 100 pounds out of there. I've just reduced my load by 20%. It's like, holy fuck. Yeah, but after you get all those 50s and those 100 pounders and those, then you're down to the 25s and the 20s, and all of a sudden the payoff is less and less. You're so strong from carrying it, but you've also gotten so much lighter from getting it out of you that now you're just sort of scouring the pan. Now it's just like pebbles and some dust. So either you're still looking for the highs of those releases and you're not getting them, right, because you're healed, or there is something that is afflicting you that you're not looking at. The mere fact that you're wanting a sense of release says you're carrying a burden. And I would ask you to identify for yourself in one sentence or less, what is the burden you're still carrying? What is it that's afflicting your soul? Which usually we'd answer that just by saying, what am I feeling right now? Not as a result of, gee, I've plateaued, but what are you feeling in your life? Is it anxiety? Is it pain? Is it fear? Is it rage? What is it? That's what you've got to answer for yourself. What am I feeling right now? That's where it starts. Check in with your body. What am I feeling? Frustration. Okay, well, I'm frustrating with my journaling process. Right, journal about that. I'm frustrated. And why do I think I've been needing more? What's the fear? That if I don't get more, what? All right, so dig into the very experience of the plateauing. And then just let it go and go about live life. But there is something deeper going on here. There's some feeling, I think, that you're not wanting to touch. All right. Next question. Moldy butt paste. There it is. It was in all sorts of different fonts, guys. Sorry. Says, I often lose myself and my self-care when I get into a relationship. I get too comfortable too fast. You and all the rest of us. Okay, you are not alone on that one. All right. But let me remind you, and I just did a video or two on this just this last week. And the bottom line is this, and you follow up by saying, how do I get into my next relationships talking stage to keep a hold of myself? Okay. You have to remember this, everyone, whether you are dating and you are 15 or you are 25 or you are 75, you have to remember little things become big things. If you remember nothing else when it comes to dating that I ever say regarding dating, at least, little things become big things. Therefore, if you are not standing up for yourself and saying, no, I actually would prefer Thai food tonight. All right. The last 2 Fridays you wanted Indian food one week, and the other week you didn't want to go to food. You wanted to go to the James Bond movie. And I wanted Thai food twice, but I didn't say it. Well, I'm saying it tonight. I want Thai food. If you don't stand up for yourself, if you don't say, that hurt my feelings, I really need you to apologize. If you don't do that the first time, and for sure the second time, you have created a pattern, the beginning of a pattern. Small things become big things. And then we get down to it happening the 15th time, and it becomes much more difficult to say, I need you to apologize, because you've already conditioned them to believe, I don't have to apologize for anything. You don't care. You've never made me apologize before. And 14 becomes 28, becomes 96. You've got to, in the beginning, when you most want to hold on to something, oh, this could be the one, and this is so great, and you're enjoying all the euphoric feelings, it's so easy to turn off all the yuck feelings, even if it's mini yucks. Okay? But those mini yucks are true as well. But we so just want the euphoria to be true without the mini yucks. But they're both true. And if you're not willing to act on both, you're just sort of pocketing the mini yucks and sort of stuffing those away because I just want the euphoria. You're doing what we all do when we're young. And what we have to learn with age is, no, we have to address the mini yucks. If we actually want a real relationship, we got to not lose ourselves in the euphoria, and we got to address those mini yucks. But they might not like me. That's exactly right. Don't you want to know that now rather than later? Don't you want to know now whether or not you standing up for yourself is going to be rejected? Wouldn't that be better to know now? Yes, but it's scary. Yeah, it is scary. And this is where we get into the field of dealing with life authentically. All right, I'm going to take one more question. All right, we're going to end it on a juicy one. Bobby on TikTok said earlier, and I wanted to come back to this one. Bobby said, hi from Utah. My daughter's boyfriend quit his job with her being 7.5 months pregnant. And now you don't say if it's a man or a woman, so I don't have to really care. So I'm going to go both ways on it. Bobby, you no doubt have a lot of anxiety over what's going on with your daughter, obviously, and her boyfriend. You no doubt had a lot of anxiety, I'm betting, when you found out they were pregnant and not married. That brings its own anxiety for some folks, understandably. And now more anxiety because he has quit his job. First of all, if we're being just logical, first of all, quitting the job isn't the end of the world. Maybe he's going to find a new one right away and everything's going to be fine. But you have anxiety nonetheless. And understandably so. Who's going to pay for the baby? How are they going to make it? And then, am I going to end up paying for it? Am I going to end up raising it? Are they going to end up moving in with me? Why isn't this fucker getting a job? Though it could be argued, why isn't she working as well? 7.5 months pregnant. We don't live in fucking Sweden where we actually take care about maternity. Yeah, there's my bias. Anyway, Bobby, it's a tough situation. I want to tell you, first of all, I feel bad for what you're going through. I feel bad especially for what they are going through. It's hard being young. And I'm betting the fact that his boyfriend, girlfriend, and quit his job, I'm betting we're talking about rather young, like quite young. And so I'm totally speculating, unexpected pregnancy. And so they're in a hard spot. And they've made the decision at this point to keep the child. You haven't said whether or not they're putting it up for adoption, but your anxiety over him quitting his job implies they are not putting it up for adoption, but they're going to raise the child. So what I would encourage you to do is get your own shit out so that you don't go swinging around axes and making a problem worse. Talking it out with them, listening is one thing. But coming in with a hard-hitting agenda and you guys this and you that and you should this and that never helps. If I can give you one tip, Bobby, it's this. First of all, sit down, write some letters to them, a bunch of them. Don't send them. Don't give them to them. Write out all your anger, all your frustration. You irresponsible little fuckers, what were you thinking? Didn't you even think to buy a fucking $2 condom? God damn it, what were you thinking? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I love you so much and I'm worried, but I just don't want to have to take care of this baby myself. And I know it's selfish, but I'm worried. I got a million worries and I love you guys both and I want you to do well, but I'm just afraid. Put it all down on paper and keep writing it out. Then, a few weeks, month, whatever, go to them and say, and maybe, in 2 weeks, week, after you've written and flushed out a bunch of stuff, and keep doing it even after you go to them. But you want to go to them and you want to listen. Do you know how to listen, Bobby? Like truly listen? Where you're not coming in with an agenda or all your anxieties, and then you're going to start fixing and shoulding. And listen, what are you guys struggling with the most? What's the hardest part? Maybe separating them, going to each of them individually and not just your daughter, because then it's very easily become gang up time on whoever's not in the room. But allowing them to get their feelings out. My mom lived by a mantra. She died at 93, raised 6 kids, and one of the mantras she lived by is, children want to be heard, not fixed. And so many of us, that's us even in our 60s or 80s, we want to be heard. Your children want to be heard. Your daughter's boyfriend wants to feel heard, like somebody gives a shit about him without trying to fix him or shame him. And when you finally get your own crud out of you, you can go to him as a listener, to hear him with warmth and not just to shame him or should on him or try to fix him, all of with him, which implies, I don't like you the way you are. You need to change. You're not good enough the way you are. He's probably got enough of that going on inside of himself right now. Probably feels a lot of guilt, anger at himself, sadness, disappointment. You can either be a source of relief of that or a source of making it worse. And if you think about it, if they're young, what have they got? They've got their knucklehead friends to help them sort this out. Maybe, I doubt they're seeing a therapist, so that means they've got you to be their therapist, which means you got to heal yourself. Get all your shit out of your love cup so that you can handle their stuff being dumped into your love cup. You have an opportunity to help a couple of young people heal themselves and find a place of comfort in the world where they're being accepted, not just told what they should do. Do you understand the difference? All right, folks. Thank you. Thank you for these great questions. We really had a very disparate, fun batch of questions today, Rob.
We did. It was great. Big fan.
Big fan, love it. Let's go.
You know what? And Luna said, your book kicks ass. I've recommended it to people, and they've taken it. And this other guy wrote in, and JMS Dong, he recommends your book a lot. And he's concerned.
Which book, by the way? Probably Love Cup or Cheating Sucks?
I think it's
Badass Wisdom?
There's a Hole in My Love Cup,
Okay.
I guess. He's mostly wants to know how to get people into your content because he recommends it, and then people are a little hesitant sometimes. He wants to know how he can best sell it. Maybe you can help him with that.
Yeah, sure. Just one thought, and it's simply this. I get people literally every day in comment sections on videos. I get longtime followers whose names I know as saying, Sven, I've read your book for a year and a half. I haven't cracked it. I'm terrified of your book. Sven, I read chapter 1. I read the introduction. I put it down, and I haven't touched it in 4 months. You got to understand. What's this gentleman's name?
JMS Dong.
JMS Dong. I get people who want healing, but you have to understand, James, it's terrifying. And we're not ready till we're ready. I always tell people, you've heard me say before, you've read it in the book, change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. And you can lead the horse to water, but until they're ready to drink, until their pain has gotten bad enough, it's not even about your sales pitch. Sometimes, you know what one of the benefits is of having parents who are farmers, who had grown up on farms during the Great Depression and World War II. Both my parents did. One way up in northern Minnesota, Kitson County. Mom way down in the bottom near Faribault, East Chain. And the great thing about having parents who are farmers, and I'm glad they got off the farm because I never wanted to work that hard, is you learn about planting seeds. And they were gardeners. One of the books I had growing up was called The Carrot Seed. It's a beautiful little children's book. And that planting is about putting seeds in the ground. And you don't see results from putting seeds in the ground the next day. I planted a bunch of wildflowers in one of our circular gardens in the backyard, and they didn't come out, and now we've got this glorious garden of zinnias and phlox and gladiolas and all sorts of stuff, not gladiolas, delphiniums and so forth. But sometimes we're just planting seeds, JMS Dong. Sometimes we're planting seeds. You know what they say in advertising? In advertising, someone has to have 20 impressions before they buy a product. So, it's not always about the hard sell. Sometimes it's just about, especially when we're helping someone to heal their heart and heal their soul, that it's more about being a presence of love in the world. And that love and that listening and that presence and that giving a shit, that's the sell. And if they want at some point, how did you become the way you are, Steve or Tom? Gee, what changed in you, Gretchen? They want what you got. I'll have what she's having. That old line from Harry Met Sally. Well, it's the same way with this stuff, that you're a presence of love and inspiration in the world. And hey, there's this great book. If you're ever interested, I strongly recommend it to you. Hell, I'll buy a copy for you, whatever. But the point is, it's great. Or just, you know what? The other thing is, especially if they're a young person or everybody likes them nowadays, send them a video. Send them a couple of videos. Say, just take a look at this guy. Tell me what you think. Or listen to an episode of his podcast. He's, fucking stupid, but he is mildly entertaining. So in other words, you can use some of those ins, but in the end, they'll know that we're changed by our love. By our love. And it's to be a presence of love in the world, right? All right. Well, folks, great questions, great everything. We have had so many countries and continents represented today. We even had India represented in the show tonight. We had a follower or two in from India, and it's always a treat. We had Patagonia here tonight. We had Canada and folks for whom it's not even tonight, it's tomorrow, and all those sorts of things. So, Rob, any final words today?
You got a lot of words in there, and they were all wonderful.
What song should I listen to, Rob, that you know about, say, from the 60s, back when you were spinning radios on the DJ? No, when you were spinning records at the radio station in down there in Ohio for a while.
North Carolina, not Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio was TV.
That's it. So I knew I wasn't totally wrong. Yep. And a 60s song that I probably haven't heard that I should listen to this week.
Vehicle by Ides of March.
Vehicle by Ides of March,
I'm
folks.
your vehicle, baby. I'll take you anywhere.
Oh,
you
I know
wanna
that
go.
song.
There you go.
I'm your vehicle, baby.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I know
Big-
that song.
Big horns like Chicago. You like that stuff?
I love the big horns. By the way, I saw Bob Dylan in concert this week.
No kidding.
Love Bob Dylan, but you know what he does? He turns off the big screens.
Yeah.
So you're up in the fucking, we're on the ground floor, but still we're far away. You're up in the cheap seats. You can't even see him. He's just a dot. It's like Bob Dylan. It's like, he's a Minnesotan, right? And native, but it's like, you dick. Come on, man. But whatever. Anyway, great music, Bob Dylan, whatever. All right. Love you guys. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. This has been a great episode. We do Badass Counseling because we believe healing shouldn't have to take a long time. Get the books. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. If you're struggling with cheating, get Cheating Sucks. On behalf of my team, KC in the booth, Rob the Rocket, the fucking stud. On behalf of my team, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.